Now that Mr. X is back, we have four, so we have a forum. I want to welcome everybody to our Facilities and Finance Committee meeting today, October the 21st. Let's see, the meeting will be held at this boardroom, and the audio-video feed can be found at youtube.com/goepcc. All backup and related materials for the meeting can be accessed at the following link: epcc.edu/administration/board of trustees. Welcome, everyone. Pam, can you poll the board, please?
It'll be me.
No. Okay.
Mrs. Robles,
Present.
Mr. Uxer,
Here.
Ms. Pina will not be here, Ms. Sanchez, Dr. Graham is not here, and Ms. Nájera? Here. And Mr. Haggerty?
Here. Okay. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Okay. Can you read the first discussion item,
Yes.
5.1, please?
5.1, discussion item, Mr. Paulo Perez, Program Manager, ECM, will provide an update briefing on the progress of the Combined Fee Revenue Improvement Bonds Series 2016 program. Briefing items will include, but are not limited to, a general update including schedule and budget for all 6 projects, as well as an overall bond schedule and budget update.
Okay. You're on.
All right. Good afternoon, Dr. Serrata. Good afternoon, board members and Chair Haggerty. We'll start with the Rio Grande Project. In general, all projects are moving along quite well. The only exception is obviously IT, and I'll go into that in a little while. So here is a view of the Rio Grande Project. Basically, all we lack is the letters on the top right there, the EPCC letters, the lit up letters. It is on site right now. And the landscaping down in the area between the Queen Anne House and the building. So to show you, I thought it would be an interesting thing to mention this. So this is a wall that was built with the stones from the previous wall. This was something that the Historical Commission requested when we had negotiations with them, and we affectionately called them the historical wall. And so it matches the existing wall, and all the stones were from the original.
You're gonna put a little plaque on it?
You know, that's a good idea, actually. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but I believe that was one of the things we suggested to the Historical Commission. See, I think that's a real good idea. So let me make a note of that. Okay. So as you can tell by the next slides, it's really all the stone is in place for the south lobby entry. There's a very nice arched entryway. All the steps are in place and all the concrete. Now basically it's down to have the landscaping in there. One of the features the architect had in the south courtyard area was, if you notice, there's not a handrail on the left side, and the reason for that is that to allow the students to sit on those walls and still allow enough space to people to walk by. Just kind of, it's all, as well as gathering, kind of like the Spanish steps, if you're familiar with that expression. So as you can tell, the furniture has been moved in. Here's the CTE on the 6th floor on the left side, and on the right side there's the part-time faculty area. There's on the left side 6th floor East student area and the 6th floor main student area on the right, and now that same area on the 7th floor here on the left side, and on the right side 7th floor Radiology Classroom. As you can tell, and if you've been there, you'll notice that the views are tremendous from all around the building, and as you can tell in this specific classroom, the views are very nice. And I thought this was something interesting to show you. This is a piece of equipment that simulates the back of an ambulance, and everything in there works just exactly like a typical ambulance would work. And so this was a great tool for the students, for
Does
the
it
MTs.
move like the truck when it's moving?
I don't know it's quite that sophisticated, but
It's quite interesting. It's a little different when it's standing still. When you're back there.
that's an
When
excellent
you got a
point.
crazy
Yeah.
driver.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wonder if he has some shocks in there that could. but I kind of doubt it. So the dates, I think it's important on the Rio Grande that these are, to mention that these are target dates. And as such, these are dates that every day we're in communication with the contractor, telling him these are the dates, this is what you need to meet. And so is the architect and EPCC. And but it's important to mention that these are dates that can't move. We told the contractor there that because the spring semester doesn't move, it starts on a certain date, so we can't be sliding. I mean, we're really to the point where they have to meet these target dates. And with that being said, this is what it looks like for Rio Grande. Valle Verde, obviously, because it's further along, it's a little simpler than this. But so right now, we're shooting for a certificate of occupancy from the city next week, October 29th. Now, the caveat to this is obviously it's the city that needs to certify this, and sometimes they come with some surprises. But we've had some preliminary visits from the city, and we believe there's a good possibility we'll get it on that date. And so after that, there'll be the punch list for the work. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about bricks and mortar at this point. And so we should be done, substantially complete by November 10th. Now, there's two other dates, two other activities that are related to this November 10th date. One is the contractor absolutely has to complete their IT work by this date. And that has been communicated several times, and we continue to do so. And the other one is EPCC IT is kind enough to, thank you, because they're actually doing some concurrent work when, if we weren't so tight for time, they wouldn't have to do, but they're certainly on board to help us out. And so they will be doing the punch list at the same time this is going on. And they've already been doing some of that, to be perfectly honest. They've already been doing several visits to the site to help us out, identify any things that may not be correct. So, and then basically the other date is obviously the IT punch list being done by that date. So this is a very critical date, this November 10th. So hopefully for the next board meeting in November, I should be able to give you hopefully good news. November 14th is the contractor working on the finishing the punch list from the punch list that EPCC IT has produced. And December 1st, this is probably the next biggest, most critical date, because December 1st is when EMS, which is a third-party vendor, they don't work for Aero, the contractor, they work for EPCC as a separate contract. They need to have all the network in place before they come and do their work. And it'll take them a good 3 weeks to do that. So December 1st, we'll have to have it ready for them. And this actually puts a lot of pressure on EPCC IT because, as you can tell, we're only giving them 3 weeks, but that's not the part I'm worried about. The part I'm worried about is actually the contractor getting done with their part. So with that being said, then after that it's in place, December 22nd should be when the EMS, the SimLab folks should be done. And at the same time, too, here you'll see that by December 10th, the AV and security work. And let me explain why we have that after IT. So pretty much all the work for AV and IT should, and AV, I'm sorry, AV and security should be done by the time that that IT completes that work. Then they just have to come for about a week and a half to wrap it up. There's some components in there, both in security, like the cameras, they need to be put in the network. So they have a little bit of work to do after that, but that's not as critical. It's something they can do pretty quickly. But I decided to put it in here because it certainly is a factor. So January 18th start, again, the full responsibility on this part right now, it's really on the contractor. They have to meet these dates. It's not something that ECM can do. It's not something the EPCC can do. It's not something the architect can do. This is something they have to do. So going on to Valle Verde, As you all know, this is mostly, again, to make a point that these are target dates. We need the contractor to complete the IT work by December 1st. And if you recall, December 1st is that date when the EPCC IT will be done at Valle Verde. So we're really taking them through the ringer on this because they have to have those 3 weeks at Rio Grande. And then once they're done, they have to jump to Valle Verde to do their portion of the work. So that's why it's absolutely critical the contractor is done by December 1st. And so after that comes the EPCC IT network computer installation, and that will take us through the first week, because of course there's Christmas in there and New Year, so they'll take us through the first week in January, and the same thing for AV and security. That's when they have to come back and connect their equipment. So then the classes start January 18th. So again, if these dates are met, particularly by the contractor, I think we'll be okay. It's the same IT contractor at Rio Grande and Valle Verde. So of course that, in a way, it's easier because we can press them at the same time, but on the other hand, it does make it, we need to keep an eye on them as far as that they're proceeding at a pace that will allow them to get done. And any questions on the projects before I get into the budget? No? Okay. So as far as the budget is concerned, there has been one major change that I want to make you all aware of, and that is this area here. So these numbers, and you may have not noticed that, but for the last 3 years, those numbers have not been updated. They've stayed pretty consistent because obviously these were estimates. And now we're here basically 4 years later. And so we ended up consolidating because now we're done with ordering all the computers and all the IT equipment. I believe there's still some video cards that still need to be ordered, but we're done with 99.9% of this budget. So we were consolidating, comparing these numbers to the numbers we actually have now. And we were about 215,000 short, and we had 250,000 in contingency for mission. So in mission, for all practical purposes, we're not done, but for all practical purposes, we're done. So we felt pretty comfortable with Ms. Chauncey's permission to transfer that to help balance these computer numbers. So what we did, and it's summarized here in the bottom here with these squares, we took the $250,000 for mission, and then what we did, as you can tell, we actually overestimated on IT, the IT portion. We were actually $412,000 under budget. The bad news is that we were 620, I can't even read it from here, but 600,000 plus over budget. So that netted about 215,000. So what we did, we went ahead and provided from the 215,517, and then we left 34,483 basically to help cover. We left it in an allowance to help cover for the video cards and whatever else the IT still might need to complete the work with. So this was, obviously this was the only major change. Everything else looks okay. It looks like we're perfectly okay in terms of funding. So that wraps up my presentation. Any questions?
Yes, would you go back one slide, please?
Yes, sir.
Okay, would you explain to me again the computer budgeting situation?
Yes, sir. So basically, about 4 years ago, we, let me put it in here so I can read it. It's, we had $2,545,555 for IT work. This is basically anything that's related to IT, all the equipment except computers. And we had $749,315.46 for computers. So what we did, it turned out, it turned out that we actually, out of all the IT numbers, by the time now that we bought all the equipment, did all the installations, bought the computers, bought the monitors, now that we're all done, if you recall, we brought each one of these to your attention when we were for approval, for purchasing. And now that we're done, we're basically comparing the numbers, and we realized even though we were quite a bit under on IT portion, on the computers, we're quite a bit over, again by 627,000. So in order to balance the budget and not request for additional funds.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's 627.
Yes, sir.
You underestimated by 625,000?
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to me what constitute that? Was it individual price, just the particular computer that we were looking at? They were like $800 instead of $700, or did we have a whole different category that we didn't come, or how come we missed $627,000 on computers? That's a hardware situation, right?
Pardon?
That's a hardware, computer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I believe it was just a number. I don't know if, Marco, if you want to say anything, but I believe it was mostly just more computers, and some were more expensive than predicted. Of course, a lot of time has gone by, but
Yeah, well,
I don't know all the details, to be perfectly honest.
let's talk details.
Hello, Chair. Good evening, board members, President. So the difference is the number, the quantity that was estimated at the beginning when
Okay,
this was set up. That was the whole difference. So, for instance, at Valle Verde, there's an additional close to about 380 additional computers that were
Now,
not
tell me
accounted for at the
percentage.
beginning.
Underestimated by about what, 10%, 20% of the total computer units?
For the entire district, that's a good question. I
Ballpark.
didn't actually run that number, but so I would say at Valle Verde, it was very underestimated. Valle Verde itself is the one that ended up being very underestimated. And as of, for instance, as of last week, we received yet another request to add even additional computers in one
Is
room.
this to meet curriculum requirements and just actually getting down to what it is we really need?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Was this actually the additional computers, is this to meet curriculum requirements and actual budgeting?
Yeah, this was something, again, that on the original budget, we did not account, or it wasn't accounted for as many
No,
computers needed.
it was just an estimate for the number that now
Correct.
we had to refine it?
Yes, yes. And as Mr. Perez mentioned, we actually, from the IT budget that we got, we actually, in that one right before we got started, we did do a closer budgeting on that, and we actually used some of the money that we saved to cover up of some of the.
Yeah, okay. How about a unit cost? Did that go up significantly because we've been delayed for over a year on the project?
Not per computer, no, because we had,
So it's just total number of
it was just the
total number of
quantity.
units
Yes, sir.
and the associated work, wiring, yada, yada, yada.
That is
go with it.
correct.
So what do you say? Do we say maybe we underestimate 10% or 50% or 237%? Just real ballpark. You have a guess? You're a professional. You should be able, you work with numbers. Give me a number.
I do. So it was about 30%
Okay. That's not bad.
overall.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't think we need an executive session. Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment out of this meeting?
So made.
Second.
Call the question?
Mrs. Robles?
Aye.
Mr. Uxer?
All right.
Ms. Nájera?
Aye.
And Mr. Haggerty?
Aye.